Hello, hello. Welcome to Wednesday's Lunch and Learn. I'm going to be your host, Gregory, and here you can see our schedule. We've got one more this week, going to be run by Jared, and hopefully you all were able to catch the other two run by Robert and Jeremy. We are going to begin answering questions in just a few moments. All right, it seems like we have quite a bit of people here. I'm going to stop sharing now, and I think we are ready to start answering any questions that you guys have. So, is there anything that we can assist anyone with? Please post your questions in either the chat or the Q&A section, and we will be glad to address them. Okay, got one already from Leah Turner. Can you show us how to use a flow to update an entity? We use a form, essentially, to create an entity, but we're getting hung up on how to edit a previously created one. Ah, okay. So absolutely, we can show you how to do that. And let me get this up and running. Let me share my screen here. We'll get started on that. All right, everyone can see it. All right, cool. So first, let's start by actually creating the entity, and then we'll go from there. So let's go into create data type integration. We're going to go to user defined types, and we're going to select entity. We'll just call this Leia entity. And then in this, we can put something like name, um, favorite color, and we'll just keep it simple there. Sorry, can't have spaces. And we'll hit save on this. Taking a little bit to load. Not sure what's going on with that, but our next step that we're going to be running is once this is created, we'll open up a flow. And once it lets us actually get to that page, we will begin by creating the entity. And you said that you create it in a form, right? Let me unmute you so that you can give a little bit more context. Give me just a moment here. Here you go. You should be able to talk now.
Okay. Yeah, we essentially use the output from a form to feed into the create entity fields.
Okay.
So we were trying to see how to maybe use the same form to edit the entity. So maybe do like a toggle is active on a particular entity because we use it in an external, we're going to use it in an external truth table.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Let's in that case, let me real quick add a boolean to that. If you're mentioning you have like a toggle that you turn on and off, I'd like to edit the structure just so we have something that mimics that. And we're going to set that to a boolean, save it, and then we'll go back to our flow. Okay, so this will just be alter entity flow. All right. Now, the first thing we got to do is I'm going to use this flow to actually create some entities, and then we're going to use it to update some entities. So if I go to entities, lay entity, this is under user-defined types, by the way. You want to scroll all the way down in your toolbox here. Oop, and we'll go to create, select that. Folder ID, I guess I should have grabbed one of those before we started. Give me a moment. Oh, wait, we can just do a constant. Because if I pick constant here, it should let me pick from the folders that we got. And let's just put that under the lunch and learn folder. And then from here, we're going to build data so I can input what we would like to have inside of here. So let's just create one. Uh, Name, Leia. What's your favorite color?
Green.
Green, you got it. All right. And then we'll set it to active to begin with. All right. Let's save that. And I'm going to run this once, so we're going to actually create this entity. Once I run it, or if I run in the debugger, it will do it as well. So I'll do that so you can see what's going on here. Input, output is showing everything that's getting passed into this. And then we get the entity ID right here, right? So that's part of the entity when you're fetching it will be that entity ID. And we're going to need that later in order to update it. So let's go with one more. I think, Robert, you're in here, right?
Indeed.
Awesome. What's your favorite color?
Let's go. Probably green, but we'll go something different. We'll do blue.
Blue. All right, you got it.
Let's
Shouldn't have
go.
picked two people with the favorite color green. All right, let's debug it real quick. And there we go. Now we've got two entities created, and that's enough for our example here. So let's save this. We're going to go back into it, and I'm going to use this flow for a different purpose now. You'll probably have a different flow that's actually creating the entities, but for this case, I'm just using it so that we can create them and get on to actually showing you how to edit them. So we're going to use a fetch entity step, and we want to fetch entity of type Leia's entity. And for this one, we just want to fetch all of the results, and we're going to pass them into that form that we were talking about here. We want this form to be able to display these entities that are coming in. So I am going to edit this. And there are a few different ways that we can do this. I can put this in a data repeater that would let you see each field individually mapped. I could run these from an advanced data grid that lets you make those changes and then pass them out. And I think that may be the way that I want to go here. So we're going to go with an advanced data grid here to display all the entities. And this is going to be of type Leia entity. And then we'll just call this, why not? We can call it the same thing here. And now we have this entity coming in. We're going to add the fields, name, favorite color, and active. It's not going to display anything at the moment because we have not let it display anything at the moment. Now, we don't want people to be able to change the name or favorite color, but we do want them to be able to change active. So we're going to select can edit while we have this field selected right here. And then over here under grid view, there's typically an option for editing, though sometimes it does not show it. So I think we have to alter that within the properties of this step itself. Awesome. And now grid mode is not info only, but we want to allow it to be edited. I am not certain if it is single select or inline edit. We will
In
try both. Mhm.
inline edit is going to be your best bet for that.
You got it. All right. And then we're going to call the output data edited data. Why not? If I can spell that correctly. There we go. All right, cool. So we got some entities that are coming in. This is going to output a list of the entities, and it should be able to change them here, right? The last step that we need is going into our user-defined types, go under entities, Leia entity, and this time we want to be able to selective update the entity, right? We want to pick the one that's been changed here. So I will get to that in a little bit. Let me just map this in real quick. Because that should be all entity results coming in. And I'm just going to debug this so you can see what's going on here, just to start. So right here, we've got all of our entities that just got fetched from here of type Leia entity. And then we mapped into an advanced data grid the fields we wanted to display to the user, which is the name, the favorite color, and active is true or false. So because we allowed it to be edited, we can click on these fields and change them from active to inactive, right? So what we would want to do is to be able to update these entities per the entity ID that is coming out, right? So we want to make sure that we pass out the entity ID where the change has been made. So let's see here, because I'm trying to consider the best way to get that ID out. Let's see here. Ah, here we go. I'll put the selected item. And then we'll call this the selected entity. Now we have this selected entity that's coming out here, right? One of them is going to be selected and altered. And then once that's altered, we can pass it into here from that selected entity. So we're going to select the name from the flow, from the edited data first. Oh, sorry. I grabbed the wrong one. Selected entity. Name. Same thing over here. Selected entity. Favorite color. Oh, I put the wrong one here. My bad. I put the entity name and not the name right here. And then active will also select from the flow, right, of the selected entity and put that in here. Now we need to pass in the ID of the selected entity too. Otherwise, it doesn't know which entity it's supposed to update. So if we go in here and we go to ID, select from flow, that same selected entity, we want to pass in that ID right here. So now let's debug this, see if everything's running as we expect. I'm going to change Leia from active to inactive, and then we'll proceed. What is it not liking here? Oh, whoops, my bad. That is my fault. Entity name, false, favorite color. Yep, hold on. So, where is it? Nope, I'm grabbing the wrong one. If anyone would like to jump in real quick, I am not recalling. Do I just need to select the name from somewhere else here?
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to pass out the name into the entity because we're getting an error when we debug this. I can pick which item from the active data grid,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see that it did update here, but it's still through that error. So I want to change that to true. We want to be able to toggle something active or inactive and then selective update it based on a flow. So I would proceed with this, and then when we hit proceed,
Well, the name's not there.
oh, well,
So
that's because we fetched something without a name. That just got broken because it ran through the selective update.
we'll go back to your selective update. So if you scroll down, edit active entity name, you don't need to edit. Does everything need to be updated or just one property?
It's just one property, so I probably didn't need to map all these in.
Yeah. Only the property you want to update. So I'll just set the other fields as ignore and just set the advanced data grid as optional just to do the demonstration. I'll
Okay.
just make sure the ID gets passed through.
Okay. Yep. I've got the ID getting passed through as well.
Mhm.
So we'll go with ignore with this. We'll go with ignore with this. And then selective entity active, and that'll get passed in. All right. So let's run this one more time. This time we're going to select Roberts. We're going to change his from true to false. And then I'll hit proceed. And then it's not going to show the output here, but if we were to run this debugged flow again, which would fetch the entities again, you should see that Robert is now set to false. Did that answer your question, or was that not quite what you were looking
That
for?
answered my question. Great, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Glad to. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? In the chat, we have a lot more going on. Let's see here. All right, Smitha. Had a question on XML data structure. Is this created when you upload an XML? One of you had helped me deserialize and serialize in one of the sessions, and we used the sample book XML for that. I do get an error that I cannot recognize our XML, and I'm assuming is because of the structure. Thank you for all your help. All right, so let me unmute you so we can get just a little bit more context here. There you go. You should be able to talk now.
Hi, thank you.
Mhm.
In one of the sessions, the requirement we had was in an XML file. We needed to update one of the nodes in an XML file. And I think one of you had helped in these sessions that I can use serialize, deserialize, and work on that thing. In that session, I think we used the book.xml, and I tried using that. It works great for that. And but I do see that there is an XML structure which it is using. But when I tried to put my XML in that structure, it did not seem to like it. It's a valid XML. I checked on that. Our XML was valid, but it still gives an error. So I was wondering how I can create the XML structure based on uploading an XML. And the other thing is like the structure can change in the sense some of the nodes may be present sometimes, some of the nodes may not be present. So it's kind of a variable, but how can it well, the node we are talking will always be there. So how can we go about this?
So you're trying to upload an XML structure in a decisions flow and for it to be able to create a type based off of whatever structure you're uploading, which
Yeah,
can change variably.
yeah.
Okay, let's take a look here. We should have more than just the serialize and deserialize step here. Yes, I believe this type name, XML schema, this may not be it. Because we would want to start by passing in your XML structure, right? You would want
Mhm.
to bring it in and then deserialize it, right? Or sorry, serialize it into a single string so that changes and stuff can be made to it, correct?
Yeah, in that thing, basically, it was getting the properties and then changing based on that.
I see. And then you want to be able to dynamically change the XML that's coming in, and it's not based off of. We might have a project for this already. Let me confirm this because we may have something that gets created when you pass it in our asset tagging project. And then this is a type rule result list. So this is actually this is not created on the fly. This is actually something that gets created within the user defined data type. And then that's just, yeah. I apologize. I am thinking on this.
No worries.
So I don't have an XML on me, but I can try to get one real quick. Let's see here. Pardon me, this will take just a moment.
I just want to ask more about it. So you have a structure. So let's say, right, I have a book, right? And it's got a title, it's got author, and it's
Correct.
got a page
That's the one
count.
I used in your sample. But
Right.
yeah,
Well, so my question is, so in this case, you're saying at sometimes, let's say you're pulling a list of books, you may get book title, author, page count, but then another time you may call that, endpoint, and you'll get book title, author, page count, chapter count.
could be, yes.
Right. And so you're trying to be able to determine deserializing the different XMLs when it could come in. Is that
Correct.
understand what you're saying? Okay.
Exactly. So I want that
So
structure to
good.
be done when I upload the XML because we don't know what will come in.
So you want the structure, say that one more time.
Exactly what you said. Like we want it to, to get the nodes and the properties when I upload the XML or, when we pass the XML on the fly. creating the structure. So I didn't know how to do that.
Do you know, like, well, my next question is how, like, what are the permutations of fields you may have? Like at one time you have 4 fields. Like is there eventually going to be a cap where you have no more than 6 fields?
Could
And
be.
so,
Yeah.
like, because then what we can do is you can just create a structure that has all 6. Let's say you're not going to get, any more fields than that, but you can get like less than like to 3, right? So we're in a situation where you could get 3 or a max of 6 fields. So what then you could do is you can create just one flow structure via the types that you may have, and then you could just convert that structure via the CSV to object, and then convert it that way. That would be something I think you could do. Or if you do what Gregory was showing, if you do the create types from XML, get all of the fields in it, and then paste that XML structure inside of it.
How? Here, just paste the XML here.
Yeah, you just paste the XML here. So if you have your list of XML, you've confirmed it's valid, you paste it here for the max number of permutations that you may have.
Okay.
And then it will convert it. And then you can deserialize into that. And then all the other fields that it doesn't have in it should just be 0.
Okay, so whatever valid XML I have with the values, I just paste it and it should work.
Yep, you can paste it in or upload the file, correct.
Okay, do I need to use the option, select the option, use XML file? On the screen?
On the screen, well, that's just if you want to use the file. So if Gregory unchecks that, all that does is says now you just paste the actual XML data.
Okay, got it.
Right, so like I would have the bracket book space, life of a coder, and then close whatever. It would be XML, not JSON.
And does it need to have the versioning or something as a first line, or it doesn't matter?
The versioning, so I believe so, maybe. So you have to make that XML, Gregory. So it's the arrows on the side, not the JSON.
Oh, right.
Right, so I can say book and then whatever's in that, and then paste that in there. I think you don't need the versioning. I would add it just in case. I haven't tested that out, but if you just have whatever you have, just paste that in there and it should work.
Okay, I'll try that out, and in case I have a problem, I'll reach out. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you for that. Much appreciated. All right. I'm going to go to the next question. Let's see here. I'm not seeing a oh, here we go. Got some Q&A ones. From James next. Is there a step that allows a form to be reset back to its starting state without having to set every control field back to its default? Well, let me unmute you because there's a way to do this. It's not a step per se, but here. Here you go. You should be able to talk now.
Yeah, I have figured out how to do it kludgely, which is I put a button on the form that basically says clear form, and it just kind of exits the form and kind of goes back into it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That,
Yep.
that essentially does it. But what I'm kind of wanting to do, because this is a pretty large form with a lot of fields on it, what I want to do is if they click a certain button on it, it needs to clear it as well. And I don't know how to do it that way.
So, well, you can have here, let me just start going into making a form here. So let's create a form here. We'll add a button here. And then you mentioned that you want a button that they can click that resets everything without having to create an active form flow that resets every single.
Right, without having to, because there's a ton of fields on this thing. I could do it, but that would be a pain in the butt if there's an easier way to do it.
Well, the easier way is what you mentioned, is by having them kind of basically have another button that would just go down a different outcome route. You call it clear, and it just goes right back to it. In fact, you can even select which fields you want to still be there, like maybe something you pre-populate and which ones you don't. So let's say that I've got let's go with a text box here, and I'll call this data name here, and then we'll go with another text box here, and I'm going to call this car, and just so people know which one name, car. Let's say that you want to keep the name field every time, but
Mhm.
not the car field. So for this name field right here, we want to have this data be output from this button if you click the
Right,
clear button as well, right? So you want to set
right.
that to
The
optional.
option. Right,
Exactly.
yeah,
But then for the car, maybe we don't want that. So
right,
we don't
right.
even have to pass that out anymore
Yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah,
And then it's exactly what you said. It's
yeah. Yeah, I get that concept. The only thing is that in my use case, there's a, I mean, I can put a clear on there, but it's going to be really nice if somehow I can programmatically do it. Is there a way to programmatically or with an active form flow or something, click a button as if the
um
user clicked it?
you can have an active form flow trigger off of a button if that's what you're asking. That can
No, I don't want that. I don't want them to have, I want to trigger the button from an active form flow. In other words, the user doesn't have to hit it. That it's hit based on criteria on the form, like if they hit a, a checkbox, then it clicks the buttons to actually clear the form for them.
okay, yes, that should be doable. Let's
I couldn't figure out how to do that. Click a button.
okay. So let's see if I recall how to do this, but that should very much be possible here. So let's pick this one right here. And then you have a button and a clear button here. So for now, we'll just map the button out and we'll go into the active form flow. So we're not going to map anything in there right now. And we're looking for a checkbox, right? Like something that they
Yeah,
can
yeah,
click and it automatically clears everything.
yep,
Okay,
yep.
so I'll call this clear all. And then we'll have an active form flow that's going to run based on that criteria. So we'll go over here, show, I'm going to add one, clear everything. And we want it when that checkbox values is changed
Yep.
to trigger this. We're not going to run on startup. And let's edit the flow here. So this is basically just going to do the exact same thing where it exits out of the form here. And let's see
Mhm.
if I recall how to do this. So we don't even need a rule because it's going to reset it by default to false. We'll configure that for the input. So anytime this is changed, it's just going to clear everything. So
Mhm.
if I recall here, this is actually one of the videos that I'm
Okay.
working on. I think we can use an end form session to navigate out of this. And then,
Exit form.
oh, exit form. My bad.
Okay, and that allows you to select what button you're exiting on,
Well,
or how does that work?
So the better way is, are you in an active form flow right now, Gregory?
I am.
Go to the form rules category and grab the exit form.
There we go.
Exit
Ah,
form.
Yeah,
there we go. My
okay.
bad.
Yeah, that's the step you want to use in active form flow. Basically what this does is if you have multiple
Oh,
buttons in your
gotcha.
outcome path, and you could do this via
Yes,
constant, but you also have select from flow. Go
yeah,
ahead and hit select from flow real quick, Gregory.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And then in form data, you
right.
can
You
see
got
the
the clear
button actually
button.
right there. So you
Right,
can say if someone clicks a checkbox, run this, and then
gotcha.
go out this exit path. And
Yeah,
sometimes what we do is if you don't want that to be visible, like you don't want to have like 5 buttons because it just looks ugly, you can
yeah,
set those other action paths as hidden,
right.
and then it will still exit out it. So the user just has a more seamless experience of clicking a checkbox and boom, it goes through.
Now you said set the action path as hidden. What,
So the
you mean just
buttons,
setting the button as hidden, right?
exactly right. So if
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
five
you just
buttons
hide the
and like,
button.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
exactly, you got it.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So this one I'm just going to
That's what I
hide right
wanted to
here.
right there. That's exactly what I was looking for. I just couldn't figure out. I wasn't aware of that step. That's exactly what I was asking.
Sure, sure.
All right,
Yeah,
and we got
cool.
two coming out right here, and we'll just have one that goes right back into the form itself. Let's put a placeholder step so we can do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Put a placeholder before the form and And on clear, I went to a placeholder. And that works. It's just I could only do it through a button. I didn't know that exit form step.
I gotcha. And then I'm going to set this a constant to false initially, just so it always shows up that way. So let's debug this just to show you what's going on here. I'll put a name down, car. Let's say they don't even get that far and they just want to clear it. When they click this checkbox,
Nice.
well, it
That's
mapped
exactly
James
right.
into it, so we may have to,
Well, that's because you left that as optional.
right, right. I left that as one of the ones that would get mapped back.
Right.
But if I were to do this with a car, it shouldn't do that. So I'll just debug
Right.
this once again. And now I'll just say this is a Ford and then checkbox, and that
Yep.
gets cleared.
Yep. That's exactly what I want. That's going to work. Yes. Oh, that saves me a lot of time because I've got probably, I don't know, 30 fields on this form to set a control for each one of those, which I have to do when they do, what they can do is select a recurring, like if they got a payment that's recurring, they
Hmm.
can go into a drop-down list and select that. And then I have to fill all this form out with that.
Ah, gotcha.
So that was a pain in the butt itself. And I didn't want to have to do that again to clear it.
That's very reasonable. But yeah. Did you have any
Cool.
further questions on
No,
that
that was
or
it, man. Thanks.
awesome. All right. And we're now going to go to Alexander's question. What is the best way to update the mapping in a list of data structures? Let me unmute you because I'd like a little bit more context on what you're asking here. Can you clarify where you're trying to update this mapping or for what purpose?
Sure. So essentially, I have a form where a user inputs a piece of information, and then I want to take that information from the form and basically update a list. So I have a list of products,
Okay.
and the list of products is this is the data structure, by the way. It's a list of data structures that are products that have the product price, the
Mm,
quantity, things like that. And essentially, I also have requested price as well. Well, the ask right now is that they just basically want to assign the requested price as the current price, essentially inside the data structure. And the current way I'm doing it, I feel like is bad. I'm just looping through the data structure and I'm basically emptying out the list and deleting the list. Then I'm creating a new list inside that loop and adding items to it, the items that are coming through the for each loop. And then in a second for each loop, I add all the things I created in my new list to the list that I emptied and then pass it back through the to the form.
okay, yeah, there should be an easier way to do this.
Yeah.
Let's go here real quick. We've got, you said there was a product and there's a price to it, right?
Yep, but it's all one data structure.
It's all one data structure. Yep, that's what I'm creating. I'm creating a data structure with these fields.
Okay.
Yep. And that's what we'll stick with for now. We'll just keep it simple.
Oh, there's a second price, and that's what should be assigned.
The second price should be assigned. Okay. And you
It's
said
like
that's
a
requested price?
requested price, yes.
Okay. All
And
right.
basically, I'm making requested price equal to price.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's create that form where all that goes down. All right. And same way as last time, I can pull up an advanced data grid here just to show everything that's getting mapped. Is this how you're displaying it, or are you using a data
Yeah, I'm actually,
repeater?
yeah, I'm using a data grid. That is correct.
Okay, cool. And then we want to be able to select one or edit it here, and then
Yeah,
the type is going to
they
be
edit it in the line, and then in the background, I wanted to update this data field that's not there.
okay. All right, and let me get a button so it stops yelling at me. Cool. And now output data name, same thing. We can just call it edited data again. Save that. Go to our flow. Oh, sorry for misspelling your name there. And now we want to be able to fetch all those entities, pass them in, right? There we go. And then we're just going to pass all those in there. So I'll create some in just a moment so we can do that. But let me just get the general logic put together for this.
Okay.
And those will come in here. Edit. We'll go in, edit the report. And then we want to display price, product. And are you displaying the edited price, or are they doing that somewhere else? Like, how is that working?
I'm displaying the price for them on this page, but in the background, I'd like the structure to be updated.
Okay.
Or the preferred price to be updated to price. Whatever they like input right then and there.
Whatever they input here, you
Yes.
want to change the price to
No, the preferred price.
the preferred price. Okay, gotcha. Sounds good. Okay, so we're not going to display that one, and we will just output that into the price here. Same way we're going to map it by ID, right? We've got a selected item that's going to take place here. It's going to get put out. Let's create two entities real quick just so that we can I'm looking for it. Oh, because I am not in our user-defined types. My bad. There we go. So we're just going to create two of these, map it to the end. Build data. We'll make this 26.99. And what's something that runs 26.99? I don't know. Swiffer Wetjet. And then we're not going to create a updated price for this. Let's just debug this so we get that updated. And now that's all we need for this. We just exit out, pass that back in here, delete this. And now we're going to fetch those entities, move them into here, and then we want to selectively update whatever gets passed out of here into a different field in this data structure, right? We don't want to update the price. We want to update the requested price with whatever they're selecting here. So the selected entity we are going to take from for the requested price, select from flow, selected entity, price, right? Because that price that they change in here is getting passed into selected price in the database, or requested price rather. And then you also need to map the ID in so they know which one it is coming from. Selected entity, ID. And now let's debug this. So we'll go in. We have 26.99. I want to say, well, I want this on sale for 14.99. So I'll click that. I'll hit the button. And then when you go and look at over here, we're passing in the requested price into that selective update with that ID. Now, if we fetch the entity again, it's not going to show that. So because it didn't update the actual price line, it just updated the requested price. So let me add one more field to this report just so we can see the requested price as well. Save that. And now when we debug this again, you should see the original price, but the requested price got updated with whatever they typed here before. Is that making sense?
Yes. Will it also update again if they update the price like in line?
Yes, absolutely it will, because it's still getting mapped to the same place. So if I update this, maybe they want to pay more money for it. Who knows why? Maybe they want to pay $34.99 for it, and I hit this button. Now it just selectively updated the requested price once again, and if I debug this, there's your requested price.
Okay. So currently the way I'm doing this, I have it inline, like I have it on inside of a flow step.
Side
Um,
of a flow step.
or I forget what they're called. I guess formal.
Okay.
And I just assign it to the new one in the background. And can I also still do that, or
Um, you could still
because
do that, but
I don't
um,
believe the list exists outside of the actual flow. Like it's not, it has a structure, a data structure, but it's not like the data isn't saved anywhere.
oh, oh, so you want to be able to update that and then just pull it from it again?
Well, yeah,
How?
because it's going to like go down. It's a very large flow. And at some point later on that field might get changed again.
Mm,
Um, but essentially the products list that I have only exist while the flow is running.
okay, gotcha. And I'm assuming that you want them to allow them to make multiple edits on multiple different items in this advanced data grid and pass out all of them.
Yes, the requested price.
I gotcha. Okay. So let's see here.
I wonder if a
Well,
data repeater would be better for this use case. Because you can easily interact with different other like simple or similar form controls for it. What is it? I'm Alexander, because then you can say whatever field they change, whether it's a checkbox or a drop-down list or things like that. It just makes it an easier interface. With the advanced data grid, we can inline edit, but it's not as user-friendly, let's say, because you only have like a single click in and then type the thing. While in a data
Mhm.
repeater, I can see the list of my items, and then I can use form controls to say this is how I want users to interact with it.
Okay.
yeah, that way you can so yeah, if you were to create that data repeater, which actually I can just go in and create it from scratch. Let's go back into our form. So let's say I put a data repeater over here. Yeah, data repeater. Here we go. Picker create source. We're going to create a new one for this one. Data repeater. And now let's put those actual boxes in here, right? So this is going to be a price box. This will be a requested
Gregory, do you mind
price
if I
box.
actually show my project real quick?
Oh, absolutely.
Because
You've
I
got the
think,
perfect example for this.
yeah, exactly. So let me just share my screen real quick just so you can see. So for example, I'm building a project for a customer for training. And essentially I've done just that. It's basically someone can request different what do you call it? Purchase requests. And I can basically, this is a data repeater, and I can add multiple requests, and I can even change the current request inside of it, utilizing this a data repeater menu here. So it just makes it, and then I can add details to this if I need to add a link or comments, that gets saved, right? And if I do www.decisions.com, right, then I can look back at it again and still see my data. So kind of, I think this is kind of what you're looking for, I would say. Yes or no?
Yeah, to an extent. I just want to make sure that I basically just want to overwrite some data that's already existing inside of a list. And I'm not sure
Yeah.
the best way to do that because I used a mapping step and
Mm-hmm.
tried to loop it, but it ended up being an infinite loop on accident.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, if it's specifically just that, then what you would do is in that form that I have, you
Hmm.
would utilize the active form flows. So let's say I go to my, I think it's this one that I have. Nope, it's not this one. I'm gonna go to my data repeater because that's what we're talking about. I can go to my request data repeater right here, and
Hmm.
all I'm doing is I'm utilizing the active form flows to change things. So if I type in values here, it will go into a different part of the form, right? And so if I go and run this flow one more time to show you this, right? So see the total cost here. I'm going to say that's $50. Boom, that changes. I add another request, right? And I'm going to say this is $250, 350. Boom, now it's 400, right? And all that's doing is it's reading it via active form flows and then pushing it to another location in the data repeater there. So if you have someone later on the process that says, you know what, I need to remove this. This was only 25. Boom, it will automatically change it in flight because it's the active form flow that's tied to it. Does that better answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. My pleasure.
All right, cool beans. Yeah, thanks for showing that example. We've got another question in here. Giovanni, is that how I say your name? And let me unmute you, real quick. Where? There we go. You should be able to talk now. You are asking, hi everyone, how can I delete some specific records from a dashboard report in production? I need to claim some records that contain specific status. That is a question that I would like you, let me put our email here. I would highly recommend reaching out to our support team to handle production questions just to make sure that, you know, the tables that you're trying to truncate or delete stuff from is safe and isn't going to ruin the rest of your environment. I just put that in the webinar chat for the people to reach out to. The answer is yes. Yes, you can delete records in a database, but depending on how those are saved, there may be different ways that you want to do it. Can you give us a little bit more background? I'm also not able to hear you. I see that you're talking, but I'm not able to hear anything.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, this is a quote application and a user requests a quote from CRM. And well, there are different levels of approval, but in some cases, the status in the report is not updated properly. So I would like to know how to clean this record that have a specific status. And I was checking the documentation a bit, but I didn't find a specific options to delete some records from reports.
Records from reports. Well, reports are sourced from somewhere. Reports are a way to display record that exists in a different data structure. So let me share my screen and I can show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So here, let me exit out of this and this. All right, so if I go to reports, and I'm going to create one here, and we're going to call this your report here. Reports are a way to display data that exists either in the database and decisions. It's being fetched from somewhere, even externally. It can display external data from an external database. If you're trying to remove records from that database directly, then you're not trying to alter the report. You're trying to alter the data or data type or the records in that data type that is holding that data. Now you can filter it here. So if I were to go to account is a great example as always. So if I were to go to the account data source, and then I want to go where is it? Is active is true. And then I choose the account email address of the accounts. We get a good bit of results back here, right? But you'll notice there's no guest account in here that comes default with decisions because it filtered it out. If I were to remove this filter, you'll now see the guest account and the system account show up. So you can filter your report to hide those statuses by different fields you mentioned, I believe. So you have field filters. You can say where a certain field is equal to something. So let's say I want the email address equals, and I'm just going to put admin. There should be one record, admin@decisions.com here. So is your goal to remove the records entirely, or are you trying to just hide them in the report?
I want to remove entirely.
Okay.
not just the filter, but like I said, that information comes from CRM. So I'm not sure if that possible to delete from decisions, or this is a activity to delete from CRM or something.
Yes, if it's being sourced from a database that is not where Decisions is running on, if it's a separate source, then yes, you want to delete it from that source. If you are just sourcing it from there. Now, if you created a type in Decisions based upon records in that source, that's different. You can delete those from Decisions. But if you're just displaying the source from that database, then you have to look to that database to remove them, not to Decisions. And I would highly recommend reaching out to support at decisions.com so they can assist you with that and figure out exactly what that setup is and be able to help wherever they can.
And if the information of if the records comes from, well, it's are created here in Decisions, how can I delete some records?
Well, that depends on how they are created. And I can show you just many different ways. So I'm going to save this report
Thank
here.
you.
And right now we have a lot of data structures, right? And just to not create another one, I'm going to go to Leia's, which has 2 records in it, Leia entity. And if we go inside of a flow here, any user-defined types it will show up here, right? So hers is an entity, so it'll show up under entities. With our other example, with Alexander, his was a database structure, so it shows up under here under database structures. These provide steps to delete records from Decisions. I can delete records based upon the ID of that record, which is the primary key. This would be this should also be stored in the database for well anything that would be stored there. So if you're looking for a way to just delete a certain entry in Decisions and not from that database that's providing that information, then this would be the way to do it. This would delete it from the Decisions database side that's storing it. Is that making some sense?
Oh, okay, I see. So let me see if I understand that. So in this case, or in this scenario, to delete some records, you need to create a flow and run that flow to, let's say, delete that information, right?
Right. If
Just
this is
with that
stored
input
in the Decisions side,
in the
yes.
decisions, yeah.
If it is not, depending on your setup, it may or may not be. You may not have an option to do this because you may not have a type created with those records in here because I'm not sure of your setup. That's why I'm recommending reaching out to Decisions or support at decisions.com because they'll be able to better get on call with you, assist you with being able to sort through that because it's more of a structural, where is your database being housed problem. But you can add logic to this too. Like you can have a for each element where you can fetch all the records that have a particular type. So let's say that you want all the entities of I'll go with Leia's example again because it just makes a lot of sense here. And we want all those entities where the active is set to false, right? Let's say we want all the records that are inactive. That will fetch those results, and then you can pass those results into your for each step, and then pass in your item because the item comes from the for each, right? The for each passes out each item to run through it. And that item is individually going to be one of that particular entity. So I would hit edit, select from that item, and pick the ID, right? Because I would want to delete it by ID. And then you just have that run through every record that has that criteria. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
Of course, but please do reach out to support at decisions.com for this because they can really assist you with trying to figure out where that's located.
Okay. Thanks
All
so
right.
much.
Absolutely. All right. And we got 5 minutes left and one more question from Smitha. Hi, is there a way to add download, or did I miss any questions from Q&A? I don't think. I see chat stuff. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I'm not. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So, I apologize. I just minimized the wrong thing. Hold on. There we go. Is there a way I can add download to Excel in a form? We're using an advanced grid. Let me unmute you so you can give a little more context here. And then this will be the last question for today. So you should still be able to talk.
For this one, right? We are displaying data. We are picking data from an external database, displaying data. Everything works great, and we do see all the filters which comes with that. All that is great, but the users wanted to know if they can download this data. So we're wondering if there is a easy way to, have a download to Excel button or something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So here, I will there's a very simple way to do that. I'll go back to the flow that we were working on before and get rid of this. So let's say we do a run report step, right? So you can run this report, right? Have an Excel file here, and you can choose what here. Let me pick an existing report. And then this outputs a list of file data or data rows or CSV. And for your use case, you want to output an Excel file, right? So let's show a form here real quick. We're just going to kind of pick from everyone's here because this has been the way that things have been working pretty well so far. So let's go here. We're going to use a fetch entity step. And we're going to pass those results into here. Pick. Boom. Proceed. And now you want to be able to, let's see, is it upload or is it down?
Basically, they want the ability to have a button or something. Only when they click, they want to download.
Right. Right. This would be a separate button to be able to
Okay.
run that. So like if I go in here, let's say this is proceed and we've got another button called download.
Okay, got
And
it.
then do you want this to close the form, by the way, or do you just
That'll be
want it?
great. Yeah.
Okay.
We were struggling with that, yes.
Oh, okay. So what we'll do is we'll just set the output to download here. So
Okay.
let me cancel this out. So download will run the report and pass out your data. Proceed is just going to go straight to the end step without doing anything. So I'm not remembering which one it is off the top of my head. So let's take a look. That's SFTP. We may have to pull that from. Is it file path? I'm not remembering the step off the top of my head. Let me take a look here. And if anyone else remembers, be much appreciated. But there is a step that allows you to be able to, might just be load. Might be load file.
What are you trying to do? I'm not sure what you're trying to do.
So there's a way to run a report and then load the file afterward from a separate step that would appear on the user's end as like a download to their system.
You're trying to.
You could.
Go ahead. Well, I guess I get there's two things we got to think about here. I think the run report step is Smith, are you only wanting like whatever data is displayed in that advanced data grid to be downloaded, not the run report of the entire data set?
Yeah, I mean, essentially we display everything, but whatever is displayed on the grid should be displayed. That's pretty much.
Okay, so
Gotcha.
So just the pieces that were selected to that user, they can download from that. So like if I see this form, I see 3 pieces of data.
Yes.
You want there to be a button that I download, and then those 3 pieces of data is in an Excel spreadsheet, not that the other 1,000 records that we have after the fact get downloaded. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, because this problem that would give us all the data. Let's do this. Can we take this offline, create a small project for you, and we'll email it to you? Because I think we could probably get something to you that would fit those needs.
Sure, not a problem. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, my pleasure. Just put your email in the chat just to make sure that we got it. Correct. And then we'll work to create that for you.
All right. Thank you. And that is going to be our last question for Lunch and Learn today. Thank you all for attending. We very much appreciate it. And don't forget that we've got Jared hosting the one that will be running tomorrow at 12 p.m. Thank you all very much.